around IBC for a very long time. And one of the things that he mentioned was there's kind of an aha moment for him. Like, man, I realized how important this was. And before I really didn't understand it. You'd mentioned that you met Kim or married Kim in 79. Did you have that same experience, right? Was there a time where you really didn't understand it and then maybe one day it clicked for you, or what was your experience?
Yeah. Well, there was three experiences. One was in 79, one was in 92, and then one was probably, I don't know, maybe 6 years ago, whatever. So three of them that kind of took me through the whole thing. The first experience was the life insurance uh, experience, the whole life experience, because I was never introduced to it, like most people aren't. Um, when I was a second lieutenant in the Army in 1979, I had SGLI, which is the group life insurance, for
Hmm.
the military, and that's that was like $300,000. That's all you need. Well, the first time I met Nelson was when Kim and I picked him up at the airport when he flew in for a wedding. It's
Oh,
like I
that was the
never,
first time,
yeah,
huh?
that was first time, man, because I wasn't smart enough to figure out that you don't marry somebody's daughter, especially if they're from Alabama, unless you visit the family first and get checked off, and then you ask for her hand in marriage. I didn't do that. I was a military guy, number one. I was from the Yankee, number two. And so we picked him up at the airport, and Nelson looked at me, and I was like, obviously, I was very nervous. I'm reading my future father-in-law, and he just looked at me, and we shook hands. He says, "Boy, we got to talk."
Oh man.
Okay, Anthony, can you hear that?
Yeah.
Boy, we got to
Yeah.
talk. It was like gulp. Oh, yes, sir. And so
Yeah.
like that evening, I think later on that afternoon, we're sitting down at a table. He whips out his portfolio. These insurance guys carry around these little leather things.
Hmm.
Pulls out this piece of paper, or actually like six or seven pieces of paper. And he says, "Sign here." And so it was a whole life contract. So
Well, David,
it,
so if you meet him for the first time and he's like, "Boy, we need to talk," and then
mm,
you don't talk for like hours later, I got to imagine your kind of mind's a little bit wandering on what he's going to say or do.
yeah. Well, I mean, we were talking about just catching up on
Hmm.
getting to know each other, and then
Hmm.
as soon as we were by ourselves is when we did the signing applications and stuff like that. So
So
anyway,
you,
I mean,
so you signed he had you sign an application on your wedding day. Is that correct?
the day before
Day
my
before.
wedding
Okay,
day,
smart,
yeah,
smart. Okay.
yeah, day before, and of course my wife was the beneficiary. So there you go. So that was number one.
Hmm.
Number two was in 1992. We had just moved to Savannah, Georgia, or we're getting ready to go to Savannah, Georgia, and we're going to buy a house. And I had to put down 20% for the house, for the mortgage, the conventional mortgage, and it was about $20,000, I guess. Um, and so I called up Nelson and said, "Hey, listen, can I get a policy loan for $20,000 for a down payment on a house?" He goes, "Absolutely. I'll have the check in the mail, this week." And then and so I deposited my checking account and signed a contract for the house, put down 20%. And they said, "Where'd you get the money from?" The mortgage broker. "Where'd you get the money from?" I said, I said, I didn't want to tell them where I got the money from. So if I have to borrow money for 20%, are they going to think I can pay the mortgage back?
Mortgage.
Right. And so finally, and Nelson said, "Don't worry about it. It's a different pot of money. Okay. Don't worry about it." And so I said, "Well, I got it from a life insurance policy loan." They said, "Oh, you should have told us that before. That doesn't count because that policy is collateral for the loan. That's not a loan in conventional terms, looking at it from a real estate perspective like this." And so the light got a little bit brighter when that happened. I go, "Wait a minute, this is something's different here, right?" So this is different kind of money. This is hard currency. It's not fiat money. It's since the policy is collateral for this loan, and I own the policy, then it's not like they're going to repossess my house. So wow, this is different. Okay, so the third light came on when I was preparing for one of our think tanks that we did. I guess it was 2015. I don't know if you're there or not, Anthony, but I did about a 15-minute little presentation where I threw up a slide. It was a spreadsheet of all the policies that Kim and I owned.
Yeah.
Okay, remember that?
Mhm.
And I said, listen, we talk about IBC all the time. We talk about, all these great illustrations. Okay, man, look how great this is going to look. 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. I said, let me show you what it actually does look like from my perspective. And these are the policies that we own. We initiated a whole bunch of them ourselves. Some of them I received as gifts from Nelson, pass them down. This is what it looked like. Here's the date when they were issued. Here's the face amount. Here's the premium. Here's the insured. Here's the owner. Here's the beneficiary. Here's the company. And oh, by the way, here's the life event that drove the policy. Either a new child was born, or I got a raise, so I could afford more premium somewhere, so I jammed a new policy, or whatever. And it was like, and then the more I looked at that and talked about it, and looked at things like how powerful the PUA was. Oh my God, when you can actually see it in relationship to the base build. The face amount is this nice number over here, nice even number usually, and then the current death benefit in most cases was twice as much, sometimes 3 times as much, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and so that was okay. That's history. That's real. And then I'd update that every year. And it was, and so I did that for you guys so you could see it, but I think it did more for me than it did for you, because it's like, wow, I mean, this is amazing. And when you have we have all those policies all in one spot, and you can see it, and it's almost like Monopoly. You got the board in front of you, and you can start coming up with strategies, the best way to manage your loans, manage your payments. You always have room to put more money in these things if you have more than one policy, right? So those are my 3 events.
You want to see the entire episode? Click here. If you want to learn how investors use infinite banking to increase their returns and lower their taxes, click here. If you want to see if infinite banking is for you and you have some questions, hop on a discovery call with us and one of our coaches. The link for that will be in the description.